Alright, welcome back to the channel. We've got another war video today, but before starting on that I will just say that you've probably noticed I've got a new logo. So yeah, going forward from this video onwards, I've decided to change the logo from the previous one I was using, and simply it was just because the one before was something I'd had a friend make for me probably years ago, earlier into the game. And obviously it was themed a bit more around Iron Man, but I felt I had to get Cap in there somehow, you know, and his beard in particular. I felt I'd be doing my own beard a disservice if I didn't, so that was the thought process there. And yeah, the new logo for the channel is just something I threw together myself. Design isn't exactly my forte, so it's nothing too spectacular, but it's a nice little touch, and yeah, knowing that I made it myself as well just makes it a bit more personalised. But yeah, that will be all that really needs to be said on that. And yeah, just thought I would address that change before getting into this war video. So this is the 11th war of the season, is the penultimate one. And if you've watched the previous videos, or you're just generally aware of how SSx are doing in the game, this is a must win. The last two are both, you know, must-win wars, because we're on a losing streak of, I think, 4 wars going into this, and having done so well in the season before that, you know, there were a couple of tight ones that were very unfortunate in those 4, but there were also a couple where we just, you know, imploded a little bit and let them get away. So it was very important that we pick up the win here and in the final war to have any chance at Masters, while also knowing that one loss would probably be enough to cost us Masters and guarantee Plat 1 for the season. So it was a high pressure war, but you know, we've had that for a few wars now. We're kind of used to it, so it's just a case of really just keeping focused, not letting it affect you in the fights. So these first 2 fights coming up are Path 5A, and they're both the ebb and flow knockdown nodes. I'm taking them both with Moleman, and essentially they're quite quick fights in the end. So I figured it'd be easier to just talk through the planning just before I actually play them. And yeah, essentially the plan for them ended up being pretty much the same, but it was the Overseer fight at first that actually, you know, required a bit more thought as to how I was going to go about it. And essentially the plan there was, you know, when you knock him down, he also goes debuff immune. So with Moleman being brought in, that means his bleed damage is going to be taken away from him. However, Moleman also bypasses auto block, which can be the big worry with Overseer there. Obviously, every time he throws a special, he's going to gain the ability to auto block. But also, quite importantly, he goes stun immune, so that plus him going debuff immune entirely when you knock him down just means openings can get a bit tricky in this fight, particularly with his ability to auto block added on top. So Moleman just became an overall good counter for it. And throwing on some skill power boost was supposed to kind of get around the fact that my bleed damage was going to be reduced, you know, because Moleman has guaranteed crits on the special 2, and I think that's a general thing, but I'm not sure. Actually, I think that's only in Frenzy. So yeah, the plan was just kind of build up my monster mass so that I'm ready to go into Frenzy, knock him down, and then go into Frenzy and dump the special 2 and close out the fight from there. So you'll see that, you know, the planning that I did with DLL as one of the officers in my battle group just works completely to plan, and it helps me melt not only the Overseer but the Hit Monkey afterwards. So yeah, as I said, for the Hit Monkey the plan pretty much becomes the same. Take an early couple of hits there, and this is the thing with Hit Monkey. He hits hard, so you know, he's not always the hardest to face, but if you make mistakes, he can really punish it a lot more than some other champs, just because of how hard he hits. So you have to be very careful. But yeah, I'm confident to, just shrug that, mistake off and keep going. So we get to the special 2 here, have knocked him down, get in frenzy, throw it, does so much damage, and now here, I take a bit of a risky approach. I've thrown the special 3, and then as I've thrown it, I've gone, why have I done that? Because this isn't going to finish him. I knew it wouldn't. And now he's going to be on a special 2. And I just get lucky that I'm able to block there quickly and smack into him and kill him before he can possibly kill me first. But a little bit of Moleman appreciation on my chat there, just to let everyone know that it was a nice start. So, having finished making this video, I then looked back over my recordings and realised in this next fight coming up, the Thing fight on encroaching stun, I spent a lot of it talking about my mistakes and regrets and things I messed up. And I also mentioned about how my actual plan did work in terms of the matchup of Shang Chi versus Thing and that node and everything. And yeah, just obviously watching it became much more focused on the actual mistakes, and yeah, I kind of forgot to talk through some of the strategy for anyone who does watch this back and wants to know, well, what was that plan that supposedly was good and actually would have worked had you not, made some silly mistakes. Sorry. So yeah, there's 3 kind of layers to this fight in a sense. So one is managing Thing's ability to go unstoppable after his rock stacks hit 15, and that's arguably the easiest part of the fight. Obviously, I do actually mess that up once or twice when you see the clip coming up, but you just want to use the medium wushu and you get your slow, and it's quite a long lasting slow, so you don't necessarily have to rush to get it back up by resetting your wushus and then reapplying, especially because when you do reset your wushus, the slow is the one wushu that sticks. Like the slow debuff stays on them regardless, unlike other ones where if you reset your wushus, then the effects of those get removed. So that's one aspect of the fight. There's a lot to manage in this fight actually, and being the first time I took it is probably why just there was that room for error and slip ups, but no excuses. I really should solo it, and you'll see that it doesn't quite go to plan entirely. So yeah, the second layer of the fight is encroaching stun. So with Shang Chi, of course, like any other champ, you can just throw your special when the timer runs out, and with power reserve also being here, that obviously does help with making sure you've got power. So the general advice and part of the plan was don't get too sidetracked about trying to use Shang's cleanse wushu, which is another way to manage it, and we'll get to that in a moment. But do obviously throw specials if you can and have the opening and space to do so, to manage encroaching stun. But the reason Shang is so special for managing it is because he has the cleanse wushu available to him, so that's medium, light, medium, and having that up just means that he'll shrug off the stun from encroaching stun, and in his description it says immediately, but in reality it's like a fraction of a second, so don't expect it to just not trigger. Essentially it triggers, then gets shrugged, so there is still a slight pause and you have to be ready for that. So that's something I did practice before taking the fight, and also looked at some footage for. So yeah, that's the 2 probably most important layers to the fight. The third was also kind of thinking about Thing's protection that he can trigger because he's duped. So yeah, I checked his SIG level before the fight, and thankfully he wasn't SIG 200, so that did actually help with the fact that the protection wasn't going to be as large. He was about SIG 106, I think, and his protection was somewhere around 70% as opposed to 80% at base, and of course then adding rock stacks gives him further protection. So you ideally want to throw your specials when he's low on rock stacks. But yeah, that's one aspect of the fight that going into it, I was aware that, you know, there's no point worrying too much about how often it's going to trigger. And yeah, so those are the three main layers of the fight. Then there's a fourth aspect I do want to just briefly mention that is something that when you see my fight, you know, and me watching back my fight, realizing I didn't take advantage of enough, and that was using the heavy to reset the wushus. Now, if you do that, you're gonna lose your cleanse charge, so you have to be aware that you've got enough time to then do the medium and re-trigger cleanse before encroaching stun comes around, or of course you've got an opening to throw a special. But yeah, you need to do that because while the slow lasts quite a while, and cleanse you can have up to 4 charges per trigger of the wushu, the slow isn't going to last forever, so you need to reset more frequently to keep that up, and that is something that I lose sight of in the fight. You know, I'm just not using the heavies to reset nearly enough, and something I would definitely change for future. But yeah, I just figured I'd add this all in because it's quite a good learning fight, and while it didn't, or rather it doesn't turn it, because I'm now adding this in before, even though I'm recording it afterwards, yeah, it doesn't quite go to plan, so I'll let that, you know, I'll end this recording and I'll let the fight start, and you can see how I talk through my mistakes and what exactly goes wrong. But Shang Chi, good counter for this, and yeah, hopefully if I get the chance again, I will absolutely smash it first time. This next fight is one I was really excited for because essentially with the planning from our officers, it came down to it being either me with Shang Chi or my mate Tarfrey there with his APOC. So it highly depended on my next fight, Havok, actually running willpower. And we found out from someone else's early fight that guy was running willpower, so that gave me the green light to bring Shang Chi in and take this fight. So like I say, I was excited for it because I was really, you know, interested in being able to take this with Shang Chi and showcase how well he can manage it. However, Shang Chi's not the problem here. Everything I discussed before and, you know, thought about as my plan, you know, talked through with the battle group and also with MP Blaze, actually, from another alliance. A shout out to him for taking the time to just listen to my thoughts on this fight and give some feedback on, you know, how well it could work, because he's actually used Shang Chi himself quite a few times, and he's taken this particular node, although I think it was an eye Hulk rather than a thing. But, you know, it meant that he had some knowledge of how the fight would work, and at least he's seen it before. So I start the fight all right here. Then I make my first mistake. I just, you know, eat a special one to the face, which is a shame because it's just a waste of the invulnerability boost I've thrown on. There you see this cleanse doing exactly its job, shrugging off that encroaching stun, and, you know, there's a slight delay when it does shrug it, but I was aware of that before, and that's something that practice being used to. And there, just see a couple more just rusty, just really silly mistakes taking some combos. Of course, one as well came from, I think, just before not having slow up on him and knocking him over 15 rock stacks. So anyway, we recover. You can make mistakes and that's absolutely fine, but it's about how you recover. We recover and we're up against the wall a bit, but we're doing alright here. And we've got the fight back under control. As you can see, we're pushing him back. Okay, now we're getting towards the wall again, but under control. And then we just do that. I don't know if it was like instinct, seeing myself about to go to a special 3 and knowing in my head I mostly wanted to use special 2s this fight, but I have no idea why, really. I knew not to throw it, and yet it just happened. And that's my 3rd death this season, and it sucks. Particularly in this war, because we were, as you'll see in a screenshot after this, or rather after my final fight that I do after this, we were 6-5 up at the time, so that made it 6-all. We were well behind on fight time, and yeah, it felt like, damn, that one could cost us the war. We had another death soon after that as well, so it then became 6-7, and I think there were maybe a couple more deaths to follow, and yeah, we end up losing this war. So, you know, little spoiler there. But you'll see here as well, this final, you know, I know it's 39%, so it's not like it's a huge amount to clear, but that's nearly half of his health. And it just goes down so smoothly. And it just shows, like, you know, I could do it. I could easily have soloed this fight. He's definitely a good counter here, and it just came down to a mix of nerves and just silly instinct kicking in. But, you know, the weird thing is as well, I think it was almost a little bit of the flip side of being too calm. You know, I spent so long just calming myself down before the fight, getting the nerves out. And, you know, I wasn't shaking throughout the fight or anything like that. I was calm, but I had a brain fart moment, essentially, when I threw that special 2 into block. And even if it wasn't into block and it hit him, it would have pushed him over 15 rock stacks without, you know, him having slow on him. So there was just no reason to throw the special 2 at all. It wasn't even, oh, I've thrown a special 2 and he's blocked it, damn, that's unfortunate. No, it's like, I shouldn't have been throwing it at all, opening or not. Like, you know, it happens, man. You've got to just get over it, move on. And yeah, unfortunately, I felt really guilty on that one about, you know, the fact that we had the lead at the time, and then of course literally like minutes after my death there was another one in RPG. You know, just a mistake there, but it feels like that's been costing us a lot this season. Not, you know, not just me, but like a lot of kind of just little mistakes catching us out and then kind of imploding a little bit. You know, it is a shame, but we can't really be too disappointed. This loss will, of course, you know, I'll get to the results at the end, I guess. But yeah, naturally the disappointment's going to be there. But yeah, so we'll get to the results at the end. For now, we'll focus on this 4th fight coming up. So this one, we knew he was running willpower, which is what we checked before, or I wouldn't have been able to bring Shang Chi, and I would have actually brought a Mr. Fantastic to just put some pre-fights on him and help control his power gain. So this bite, and also a node where when you knock him down, he can then gain a lot of power from hitting into your block for a certain, I think, 4-second period or something like that. So here I don't have to worry about managing that because Warlock's got plenty of power control with this bite, with willpower, and into it. And this just became a rapid fight. There you go, 36 or so seconds to just melt him. And yeah, I'll be honest, a good way to take out frustration after that horrible, as I have to type in there, just, you know, take out that anger after the Shang Chi versus Thing fight that I should have soloed, man. So yeah, like I said as well, I'm on 3 deaths now this season, and 2 of them, like that Shang Chi one, and also one I died to an havok on Hazard Shift. They were just disappointing, man. They were both like just silly brain farts, and yeah, you know, I should really only be on 1 death this season as a result. But yeah, as you can see, the final results there, we lost the war, and that's our 5th loss in a row, and the season has really just slipped away from us. We are Plat 1, I think rank 9 now, so the chances we mathematically can't get Masters off the basis of, you know, if we get the win bonus over the alliances above us, it's, you know, still not enough. So there's not enough alliances that above us that could lose, and then us winning would mean we can overtake them. So we're going to be relying on the few that we can overtake, you know, losing and us winning, and then we'd also need alliances to get docked, you know, multiple alliances. So it's, you know, Masters is pretty much not going to happen. But yeah, we've just got to keep the focus, go for the win anyway in the last war, to keep our, you know, try and push our war rating back up a little bit, because with 5 losses it does take a bit of a beating, doesn't it? So we've got to get that final war win and end the season on a high. And yeah, Plat 1, the rewards difference isn't too big, I'd say, between Plat 1 and, you know, Masters top 20. It's just more the pride of knowing, like, you know, first half of the season we did so well. After 7 wars we were doing so well, and then it just, 6 wars, after 6 wars we were doing really well, and then since then those 5 defeats have just been a bit of a downer. But we'll pick ourselves back up, we'll regroup, and yeah, next season hopefully we can go for Masters and secure it. Take care, everyone.